So I'd like to talk about two very simple ways of capturing thinking in a visual way. And this first device is called a circle map. And as you might expect, it begins with a circle. And all you have is a very small circle, and into this circle we write down the project that it is that we're working on. Now, what you do to begin with is you create a bigger circle. And this bigger circle is essentially it's like a bucket. And into this bucket, as a team, you think about all of the facts that you've been able to compile and all of the key information that might be out there. So you might have discovered this fact and this fact and this fact, and there may be these statistics that are interesting, and there may be this link that might be worth pursuing, and there's this particular source of information that might be worthwhile, and so on. So this is all about just pooling, with no particular sort of thinking, higher thinking, all of your knowledge, defining what you know. Because then what you do is you start to apply the thinking bit behind it. You take this bucket and you think, I'm going to frame this. Okay? And this is your frame of context. So within this frame of context, this is where I start interrogating the data. It may be something as simple as you just want to work out the timing or chronology of the data. This bit comes first, and then we need to look at this, and so on. It may be that you're starting to look at the data itself and think, well, how and where did we actually get this information? We seem to get this information from this source and this information from the same source, but where did this come from? Was this important? Is it important to think about where this all came from? It may be that you are starting to think about the actual questions that you've got of the data. What is the most important? These statistics seem to be really important, but actually this is less so let's not worry about it. And finally, it may be that you're starting to think about how to categorize this information. Do certain things link up? Do certain things fit into particular themes? And if so, how can we begin to show those main themes? And that brings us to the second point, which is once you've defined all your information and you've started to question it, you then start thinking about how can I order and organize this information. So let's think about how you then order and organize your thinking. So just to remind ourselves, we put down our project name in the middle of this circle. We then drew a bucket, and within that bucket we put down all the information that we felt was sort of important or relevant, and then we started to question it, and we started to interrogate this data according to various different ideas and questions. What you then need to do is start to organize all of that thinking in a particular way, and the simplest way to do this is with a tree. So here's our project, and we've decided to organize and order our thinking in a particular way. So if we think back to what we were doing with the circle map, it could be that it's as simple as trying to work out the chronology. We had this coming first, we had this coming second, we had this coming third. It might be that actually these main areas are to do with how and where you got the data. Well, we got this data from here, this particular source, from this source here, we got this particular information, but we seem to be a bit short of information that we're getting from this source. It may be that, as I said, with the questioning, that you're starting to think about what was most important, what was next important, what was least important to the nature of the project that we're dealing with. Or it could be that we're beginning to think about themes, and that we've got one particular theme here, we've got another theme here, we've got another theme here, and beneath this you begin to organize the information that you've got. And again, what you can begin to see visually is that whilst you may have a lot of information coming from here and a lot of facts that feed into here, there may be a gap here. It could be that you can make the link between these two themes, but there's a bit of a gap that's happening about the linkage between these two. So what it enables you to do is to see what you've got and where you need to develop more information. But crucially, because the whole thing is a visual map, it means that you have a point of reference. When you come back after investigating this a little bit more, you can then begin to see, okay, we've been able to fill these things in. We can now make the link between these two themes. We can see how this links up to here. It's a point of reference, and it's this that enables you to share your thinking really effectively.